This is your time to let go. A journey of calm and serenity. Follow the rhythm of my voice into deep rest, with every note of the music, designed with soothing frequencies, allowing your body, mind, and soul to drift into perfect relaxation. And now take a deep breath in and out and in and out. September 12, 1889. The sun is still hidden beyond the far Afghan hills. A thin wind drifts across the desolate plains, brushing over dust, stone, and the lonely British Indian outpost of Saragarhi. Inside the small stone fort, 21 Sikh soldiers stir awake beneath the cool shadow of dawn. One by one they rise, folding their thin blankets, washing in metal bowls filled with cold water drawn from the well. They speak little. Only the soft murmur of prayer fills the air, quiet words of devotion carried on the breeze. The morning routine is sacred. They oil their rifles, polish their boots, tie the pleats of their turbans with calm precision. Havildar Ishar Singh, their commander, stands in the courtyard, watching the pale horizon burn slowly into gold. His face is weathered, his eyes sharp but distant. He has been a soldier too long not to recognize the feeling that hangs in the still air. A kind of silence that isn't peace, but warning. Something's coming, murmurs Sepoy Gurmukh Singh, the youngest of them all, adjusting the mirror of his heliograph, the signaling instrument that will soon make him the voice of the entire battlefield. Perhaps the wind, says another. No, replies Gurmukh quietly. The wind does not make the earth hold its breath. Breakfast is brief hard bread and a sip of tea brewed on a small fire. The men exchange smiles, jokes, the kind that soldiers make to hide unease. But behind every grin is a heaviness, a quiet understanding of where they are and why. The year 1897 has been a season of rebellion. Across the frontier, tribal uprisings have swept through the mountains like wildfire. Forts at Lockhart and Gulistan have been attacked again and again. The enemy has grown bold, and the winds carry whispers of another assault, one greater than any before. As the first full rays of sun strike the stones of Saragarhi, the outpost feels alive, almost breathing with its men, tiny, isolated, yet standing firm between two strongholds. Its mission simple, its burden heavy. They are the eyes and ears of the British Indian Army across this barren no-man's land. Signal tower ready, Havildar. Gurmukh calls from above. Good, Ishar Singh answers. Let's hope you have nothing to report today. But deep down, neither believes that will be true. The hours crawl by. The mountains shimmer in the heat. And with each passing moment, the silence feels thicker, as if the world itself is holding its breath, waiting for something to begin. Then from the watchtower, a cry cuts the stillness in two. Movement on the horizon. The men freeze. A heartbeat later, the fort erupts into motion. Boots pound against stone. Rifles are grabbed. Ishar Singh climbs the stairs, spyglass in hand, scanning the burning horizon. Through the wavering heat, He sees it. Not dust, not cloud, but a living tide. A dark, shifting wave rolling across the plain. That, he says softly, is no caravan. Below him, the men of Saragarhi ready themselves for whatever is coming. The wind shifts. The dust along the ridgeline begins to rise, swirling into restless spirals beneath the morning Sunday. The light is sharp and white now, spilling across the stony earth and casting long shadows from the walls of Saragarhi. For a moment, it looks as if the entire horizon itself is alive. Up in the lookout tower, Sepoy Harnam Singh adjusts his field glasses. He squints against the glare, eyes narrowing. Then, his breath catches. There is a great mass moving on the horizon. He shouts, voice cracking through the crisp mountain air. Within seconds, boots thunder across the courtyard. Men rush to the walls. Some climb the ladders to higher platforms, rifles slung over their shoulders. Others take their assigned posts by the gate, checking the bolts, stacking sandbags, loading magazines. Each man knows exactly where to go. They've drilled this 100 times before, but never with this kind of fear pressing on their chests. Havildar Ishar Singh emerges from the barracks, his turban slightly loose from sleep, eyes sharp with command. "Report," he calls. "What do you see?" Harnam points eastward. The horizon shimmers, distorted by the heat. But beyond the blur-black dots, hundreds of them, maybe thousands, moving steadily forward. The faint glint of steel catches the sunlight like waves on the sea. "They're coming from the pass," Harnam says quietly. "More than I can count." Ishar Singh takes the glasses and raises them slowly. His lips tighten. He doesn't speak right away. He doesn't need to. The look on his face says everything. "Sound the alarm," he says finally. "To your posts." The fort comes alive. Metal clicks. Rifles snap into readiness. The smell of oil and gunpowder thickens the air. Inside the small stone signal tower, Sepoy Gurmukh Singh sits at his heliograph, a simple but vital device. 2 mirrors, a pivoting arm, and sunlight reflected into flashes of Morse code. The only line of communication between Saragarhi and the larger fort at Lockhart, several miles away. He begins tapping the code onto the small brass lever. Enemy movement sighted east of Saragarhi. Request identification. He waits, eyes squinting at the mirror as it flashes back and forth. Then the reply comes, each pulse of light sharp and clear. Confirmed. 14 standards counted. Estimated 10,000 tribesmen advancing. Hostile. Gurmukh swallows hard. 10,000. He blinks. Double-checks the code, but it's no mistake. "Havildar," he shouts. 14 standards they've confirmed. It's the tribes. The words echo through the courtyard. The men fall silent. 10,000 against 21. Ishar Singh nods once, calm and deliberate, as if he's merely confirming what he already knew. Ask if reinforcements can come. Gurmukh's fingers dance on the lever again, the flashes racing toward the distant fort. Then he waits. The silence stretches a long, cold minute. When the answer comes, it's short, brutal, final. Negative. Cannot send help. Forts under threat. Hold position. The young sepoy stares at the message for a moment too long. Then he exhales, turns, and says quietly, "No help will come, sir." Around him, the men stop what they're doing. No one speaks. For a moment, only the wind answers, sighing through the cracks in the old walls. Ishar Singh closes his eyes briefly, then looks around at his men, his brothers. "You have all heard," he says. "No one will come to save us, but we will not run." This post stands between two forts, and between our brothers and death. If we hold, they will live. If we fall too soon, they will fall with us. He steps forward, his voice gaining strength. "We are Sikhs, warriors of the Khalsa. We are not measured by numbers, but by courage. They may have 10,000. We have 21. It will be enough." The men exchange glances. No one argues. There is fear, yes, but not hesitation. Not one of them moves toward the gate. Naik Lal Singh nods solemnly, checking the bolt on his rifle. "Then let them come." Sepoy Ram Singh grins faintly. "Perhaps they'll get tired climbing over their own dead before they reach us." Laughter ripples briefly through the group brief. Dry, but real. The kind of laughter soldiers use to hold back the storm. Ishar Singh nods once to Gurmukh. "Tell Fort Lockhart, we will hold as long as we can." The flashes of sunlight carry the message across the barren space, bouncing off mirrors, racing over the dust and stone. At Fort Lockhart, Lieutenant Colonel John Houghton receives it. He stands silent for a moment, his jaw tightening. Then he turns to his aide. "Write it down," he says quietly. "Every word." Back at Saragarhi, the men begin their final preparations. They stack ammunition boxes by the walls, reinforce the gate with spare timber, line up spare rifles along the parapet. The heat is rising now, shimmering across the land. And so is the sound, a deep, rhythmic thunder rolling closer, the unified march of thousands of feet and hooves. Dust clouds rise like smoke pillars in the distance. From the lookout tower, Harnam Singh can now see their banners clearly: red, green, white, symbols of tribal unity fluttering under the merciless Sunday. The sound of drums carries through the valley. The enemy has arrived. Gurmukh signals one last time. Enemy closing fast. Estimated range 1,200 yards. Preparing for engagement. He glances down from the tower. Ishar Singh meets his gaze and nods once. No words are needed. Below, the men kneel at the walls, steadying their rifles, whispering short prayers under their breath. The noise from the advancing host swells until it feels like the ground itself is rumbling. Then a trumpet's sharp call. The first wave begins to run. "Hold fire," Ishar Singh shouts. "Hold until you see their eyes." The enemy grows larger, clearer men shouting, swords raised, the sun flashing off the metal. They are close enough now that the soldiers can see the whites of their eyes. "Fire!" 21 rifles crack at once, echoing like thunder across the valley. Men fall. Smoke fills the air. The Battle of Saragarhi has begun, and the world, for the first time in centuries, will soon learn what 21 men can do. The mountain air burns with the scent of dust and powder. The first volley echoes across the valley, rolling through the hills like distant thunder. Then, silence. A heartbeat's pause, and the screams begin. From the ridge below, hundreds of men charge forward, their war cries rising in waves. Some fire old rifles from the hip, others brandish curved blades that glint like shards of sunlight. Behind them, the banners whip and snap in the wind, their colors alive with fury. Atop the wall, Sepoy Bhagwan Singh reloads with steady hands. He doesn't speak. He doesn't blink. He fires, ejects, fires again, each shot placed with the calm of a man who has already accepted his fate. Beside him, Lal Singh grips the parapet, the barrel of his rifle glowing faintly from the heat. Closer now, Lal mutters. They're getting bold. Havildar Ishar Singh moves along the wall, checking his men, his voice carrying over the chaos. Aim low. Let them climb before you strike. Every bullet must count. The first wave reaches the outer slope, hundreds of men scrambling up the rocky incline toward the gate. A few fall instantly, tumbling backward into the dust. But more come, so many more. The enemy returns fire, erratic but fierce. Bullets slam into the stone walls, sending chips of rock spinning into the air. One strikes the helmet of Sepoy Uday Singh, who flinches but stays at his post, blood trickling down his temple. He grins faintly. That one was close. Gurmukh Singh keeps working the heliograph, his mirror flashing frantically in the sunlight. He sends updates between shots. Range, numbers, casualties. His voice trembles as he speaks each word before encoding it like a prayer whispered into the machine. Enemy at 600 yards. Holding position. No breaches. Then a sound like cracking thunder. A cannon, somewhere in the enemy ranks, roars to life. The shell slams into the wall near the gate, showering the courtyard in dust and splinters. The men duck instinctively, coughing through the haze. "They have artillery," someone shouts. Ishar Singh raises a hand. "Keep steady. They'll waste their powder before they aim true." He climbs the ladder to the highest parapet. From up there he sees it clearly. A crude cannon dragged by mules firing blind into the fort. He raises his rifle, takes aim, exhales. One shot. The man at the cannon's fuse falls. The weapon falls silent. Down below, the attackers waver just for a moment, and the defenders seize it. "Now," Ishar Singh yells. "Fire at will." The air explodes with sound. 21 rifles unleash fury in unison. Smoke rolls over the battlements, thick and acrid. The world becomes flashes of orange and gray, the rhythm of metal and death. The attackers stumble, fall, retreat a few steps only to be pushed forward by the weight of those behind them. It is not courage now, but momentum, a tide that cannot stop itself. Inside the fort, Ram Singh drags a wounded comrade away from the wall. The man's arm is torn open, blood dark against the sand. Ram rips a strip from his own turban, binds the wound tight, and goes back to the wall without a word. The ground below the fort is now littered with bodies. Smoke rises from the spent rifles. The sun beats down mercilessly, but still, they come. Gurmukh flashes another message through the mirror. his hands trembling now. First attack repelled, heavy losses inflicted, holding firm, morale high. The answer from Fort Lockhart takes longer this time. When it comes, it is short and solemn. Your courage will be remembered. He stares at those words for a long moment, then turns back to reload. Another trumpet sounds from below. A second wave, louder, closer, thousands now. The tribesmen roar as they surge forward again, stepping over the bodies of their fallen. A few carry ladders. Others drag logs and beams, battering tools for the gate. The air hums with bullets, arrows, and shouts in a dozen languages. Ishar Singh looks down at his men. Their faces are smeared with soot and sweat, but their eyes are calm, unbroken. "Brothers," he says, his voice steady, almost gentle, "they will come again. And again. We will meet them every time." Bhagwan Singh nods, his hands reloading by instinct. "Until we can't." Ishar smiles faintly. "Until we can't." The gate shakes violently, a dull, rhythmic pounding as the enemy begins to ram it. Each impact sends a tremor through the courtyard. Dust falls from the beams above. The sound of the war drums rises again. Naik Lal Singh turns to his commander. "Permission to take the gate detail, sir." Ishar nods. "Go. Hold it until your last breath." Lal salutes, then leads 4 men to the wooden barricade. They brace it with spears, with their shoulders, with everything they have. Each slam from the outside makes the structure groan. Splinters rain down. The men roar back with defiance, not fear. Above them, Harnam Singh fires, shot after shot, covering them as long as his rifle will hold. The barrel is scorching hot, his hands blistered, but he does not stop. Then another cannon strike. This one hits true. The blast tears part of the outer wall apart, throwing 2 men backward into the courtyard. When the dust clears, the attackers are already climbing through the breach. "To the breach!" Ishar Singh shouts. The soldiers move instantly, swords drawn, rifles reversed for close combat. The clash is brutal. Steel meets flesh. Gunfire deafens the air. Screams mix with the ringing of blades. Blood paints the dust dark red. Uday Singh drives his bayonet into one attacker, then another. He's hit across the shoulder but doesn't fall. He grits his teeth, shoves the next man back through the gap. Lal Singh fights by the gate, using the butt of his rifle like a hammer, breaking skulls, roaring with every swing. When he finally drops to one knee, exhausted, his lips still form a grin. "Not yet," he whispers. "Not yet." At the tower, Gurmukh Singh watches it all, tears cutting clean lines through the dust on his face. Still, he signals, "Breach in wall," still holding. Enemy casualties heavy, spirits unbroken. He doesn't know if anyone will ever read it, but he sends it anyway. The sun climbs higher. The air turns to fire. The first wave is over, but the next one is already forming. And above the smoke, the small fort of Saragarhi still stands, broken, battered, bleeding, but unyielding. The air inside Saragarhi fort is no longer air. It is smoke, ash, and blood. The walls tremble with each strike from outside, and the wooden gate now hangs broken, splintered, its iron hinges twisted from their bolts. Through the shattered gap comes a storm of sound, shouting, gunfire, the pounding of feet on stone. The enemy is no longer distant. They are inside. Havildar Ishar Singh stands at the center of the courtyard, sword drawn, rifle slung over his back. Around him, only fragments of his unit remain, men bloodied, exhausted, breathing hard but still standing. He meets each of their eyes in turn. No words, only understanding. Form the line, he says quietly. They move without hesitation, forming a crescent in front of the broken gate. 21, no longer. Perhaps a dozen now, but their line is straight, their boots grounded in dust that has already turned dark with blood. From the breach, the enemy pours in like a flood, first a few, then dozens, then hundreds. The narrow gap forces them to squeeze through, and for a few moments, that narrowness is the defender's salvation. Each man becomes a wall. Naik Lal Singh meets the first attacker with a rifle butt to the jaw, then another strike to the temple. He doesn't even flinch as a blade slices across his arm. He grabs the man's wrist, twists the crack of bone. Then he uses the fallen man's own sword against the next. Uday Singh beside him reloads once, fires point blank, and the recoil knocks the enemy back through the breach. He looks to Ishar Singh and nods once. Still holding, Havildar? Hold harder, Ishar answers. Not smiling this time. The clash becomes chaos. Steel rings against stone, the sound of breath and pain blending into one unending roar. Smoke from the gunfire blinds them all, turning shapes into shadows. Sometimes they strike blindly, guided by instinct alone. Ram Singh takes a hit to the chest. The blade doesn't pierce deep, but the shock sends him staggering. He drops to one knee, lifts his rifle, and fires his last bullet into the man who struck him. Then, calm, he draws his kirpan, a short curved dagger, and whispers a prayer before standing again. Not done yet, he breathes. Up on the tower, Gurmukh Singh can barely see the courtyard through the haze. He keeps flashing the heliograph toward Fort Lockhart, though his hands shake violently now. Breach entered, fighting inside walls, still resisting, many wounded. The response comes quickly this time from Colonel Houghton himself. Cannot reach you. Enemy surrounds us both. God be with you. Gurmukh stares at the message. For a long moment, he can't breathe. Then he lowers the mirror, wipes his eyes, and whispers, he already is. Below, the fighting reaches the heart of the fort. The defenders fall back, step by step, forming smaller pockets of resistance. Some fight from the roof, others from behind barrels, walls, and broken doors. Every corner becomes a battlefield. Bhagwan Singh, his face cut and bleeding, takes position behind a fallen beam and fires into the breach until his ammunition is gone. Then he picks up a broken sword, steps forward into the smoke, and disappears into it, his war cry, echoing long after he is gone. Ishar Singh moves through the chaos like a shadow, his voice carrying calm even now. Fall back to the inner wall. Keep the heliograph safe. He knows it's only a matter of time. but he refuses to yield an inch more than necessary. Every delay means Fort Lockhart can strengthen, reload, prepare. Every minute here buys lives elsewhere. A second explosion shakes the ground. The eastern wall collapses halfway, sending dust and fire into the air. Through it comes another surge of attackers, hundreds strong. For a heartbeat, even Ishar Singh feels the scale of it, the impossible tide. He takes a deep breath, steadies himself, and raises his sword. For the Khalsa, for Saragarhi, the surviving Sikhs echo the cry, their voices cutting through the storm like the clash of steel. For the Khalsa, they charge. For a moment, just a moment, time slows. You can see them moving through the smoke, their turbans shining gold in the light of the burning fort. Each step a defiance of fate itself. Their rifles empty, their blades dulled, but their spirits untouchable. The enemy falters, shocked by their sudden counterattack. Then the melee begins again, closer, bloodier. Naik Lal Singh falls, a blade driven through his back. Uday Singh drags him aside, kills the attacker, then kneels beside his brother in arms. Lal Singh's eyes flutter open. "Did we hold?" he asks. "We did," Uday says softly. "Then that's enough," Lal whispers, and he's gone. Uday stands again, screaming into the chaos, swinging his rifle like a club until he disappears under the crush of bodies. At the tower, Gurmukh looks down, his face streaked with soot. The courtyard is gone, nothing but fire, movement, and the last glints of steel. He turns to his mirror again. Last men fighting. The end is near. Request permission to continue to the last. The reply flashes across the hills like sunlight on a blade. Permission granted. Gurmukh lowers the mirror. Then he picks up his rifle. He looks once more at the burning sky above, whispers a prayer, and descends the tower steps to join his brothers below. The gate is gone. The walls are gone. Only courage remains. The world has turned red. Red with dust. Red with blood. Red with the glow of a sun sinking behind the Afghan ridges, its light lost in the smoke rising from Saragarhi. Inside the shattered outpost, only 11 men remain. They are no longer soldiers of empire or regiment. They are guardians of something deeper. Duty, honor, faith. Every heartbeat now is a prayer. The courtyard lies broken. Walls that once protected now crumble. Empty rifles are scattered like fallen branches. The air burns in the lungs. The smell of smoke and gunpowder clings to every breath. The cries from outside never end. Thousands chanting, drumming, calling to their gods of war. They believe victory is already theirs. But inside the ruin, Havildar Ishar Singh stands straight. His turban is torn, his uniform soaked through with blood, some his own, some not. His right arm hangs heavy from a wound. His left still grips the sword that has not left his hand all day. Around him, his men take position behind what little cover remains: broken barrels, shattered walls, fallen comrades. "Listen to me," Ishar says, his voice low but clear. "They will come again soon. When they do, we hold this place until the last bullet, the last breath." We have no orders left to follow but our own. He looks to each man in turn. You know what that means. The men nod. No one speaks. They already decided hours ago. Above them, Gurmukh Singh still mans his heliograph. The glass is cracked, the mirror blackened by soot, but it still works. He signals toward Fort Lockhart. Though his hands tremble, few survivors. Fighting continues. Ishar Singh wounded but alive, holding inner wall, awaiting final attack. Colonel Houghton reads the message through his telescope miles away. His throat tightens. He knows what it means. He writes only one line in response. The Empire is watching. God be with you. Gurmukh blinks back tears and flashes back. Waheguru Ji ka Khalsa. Waheguru Ji ki Fateh. The Khalsa belongs to God. Victory belongs to God. Then he lowers the mirror and reaches for his rifle. Below, a silence falls before the storm. Even the enemy outside pauses a brief, heavy stillness before the final surge. Then, with a sound like thunder rolling across the plain, the last assault begins. Drums pound, trumpets scream. Thousands of tribesmen rush the ruin from every side, their banners flickering like fire through the smoke. Arrows, bullets, and stones rain down. The Sikhs answer with everything they have left. Uday Singh fires his final shot, drops the rifle, grabs his bayonet, and charges straight into the breach. He moves like a spirit cutting, parrying, striking again. Each movement is a memory of every drill, every prayer, every promise. When he falls, he takes 3 men with him. Ram Singh stands on the staircase, firing downward until the barrel glows red, shouting Sat Shri Akal with each pull of the trigger. When the rifle jams, he throws it aside, draws his kirpan, and meets the enemy face to face. They fall together, the shout still on his lips. In the middle of the courtyard, Ishar Singh watches his brothers fall one by one. He feels no fear, only pride. He knows their sacrifice is not in vain. He can almost hear the echoes of their chants across the mountains, carried on the wind to Lockhart, to Gulistan, to every fort that now stands ready because of them. A bullet strikes his shoulder. Another grazes his neck. He stumbles but stays on his feet. He looks toward the tower, where Gurmukh still fights to keep the signal alive. "Fall back!" Ishar shouts. "To the inner gate. Protect the tower." But the line has broken. Only a handful remain. He sees their faces, men he trained, laughed with, prayed beside, and he knows there will be no retreat. He turns to them. "Brothers," he says, "the world will remember this day, not for who wins, but for who stood." He raises his sword, points it toward the enemy swarming through the broken gate. "Now come with me." With a roar that shakes the dying walls, Ishar Singh charges. His men follow every remaining Sikh in a single wave of defiance. They crash into the mass of tribesmen like lightning into storm clouds. Swords flash, bayonets thrust. For seconds, the flood stops. The impossible happens. 10 men push back hundreds. Even the attackers hesitate, stunned by the sheer will of them. But it cannot last. The wave closes again, overwhelming, suffocating. The Sikhs vanish beneath it, one by one, and still they fight. Through the haze, Ishar Singh fights on, each movement slower now, each strike heavier. Blood runs into his eyes. He hears the world dimming, the crack of rifles fading, replaced by the sound of his own heartbeat. He raises his sword one last time, shouting his final cry, Bole So Nihal, Sat Shri Akal. The blade flashes once more, and then he falls. Above, Gurmukh Singh witnesses it all from the tower. He does not cry. He does not flee. He stands tall in the smoke, the last sentinel of Saragarhi. He sends one final message. All fallen. Only one left. Request permission to fight. The light from Fort Lockhart flickers across the valley. Permission granted. He sets down the heliograph, picks up his rifle, checks the chamber, then faces the stairwell as the enemy breaks through the tower door. The first attacker appears and falls, then another and another. He fights like a man outside of time, firing, reloading, praying, shouting the name of God between every shot. Outside, the tribesmen begin to retreat from the tower in fear. They have lost hundreds to this single soldier, so they set fire to the base. The flames climb the wood, licking upward toward him. Gurmukh kneels amid the smoke, eyes closed, face calm. He begins to recite, Bole So Nihal, Sat Shri Akal, again and again and again. When the fire reaches him, his voice does not falter. The last sound heard from Saragarhi is his cry echoing across the burning stones, a cry not of defeat, but of immortality. The next morning, reinforcements from Fort Lockhart and Gulistan arrive. They find the fort silent, blackened, and filled with the fallen 21 Sikh soldiers. Over 600 enemy dead. The air is still, but it feels alive, alive with the echo of courage that will never die. That day, the world learned the meaning of Saragarhi. Dawn breaks cold over the Tira Valley. The smoke from Saragarhi still hangs in the air, thin, gray ribbons drifting over the barren rocks like the breath of ghosts. The wind carries the faint scent of ash and iron. The silence is unbearable. From the west, the columns of the 36th Sikhs advance cautiously, led by Lieutenant Colonel John Houghton himself. Behind him march British troops and supply carriers, all armed, all quiet. Even the horses seem to sense that they are approaching sacred ground. The men had marched through the night. They had seen the glow on the horizon, the pillar of smoke rising from where Saragarhi once stood. No one spoke during the long hours. They all knew what that smoke meant. As they crest the last ridge, the outpost comes into view, or what's left of it. The small signaling station, once proud and white against the mountain, is now a charred ruin. The wooden gates are gone, replaced by a blackened arch. The walls are shattered, their stones splintered by cannon fire and heat. The heliograph tower still stands somehow, though its top is scorched and its flagpole broken in two. No sound, no movement, only the wind moving across the stones. Colonel Houghton removes his helmet. He says nothing. The men behind him follow suit, their turbans and helmets lowering in silent respect. Each step they take forward crunches over the remains of burnt earth, shattered rifles, and broken swords. Then, Near the inner wall, a voice calls out, "Sir, bodies." The soldiers gather. There, beneath the collapsed gate, lie the first of the 21. Their faces are blackened with soot, their turbans half burned, but their weapons still in hand. The rifles are empty, the bayonets are bloody. No man seems to have fallen while running. Each body is found facing outward toward the enemy. They move deeper into the fort, counting as they go. By the courtyard, near the eastern wall, 5 more, their bodies clustered together, as if they had made their last stand side by side. By the inner rampart, another 4 still gripping the sword of Havildar Ishar Singh. Houghton kneels beside him. He lifts the Havildar's hand gently from the hilt. The steel is fused to his skin by the heat. "He fought to the end," one of the soldiers whispers. Houghton nods slowly. They all did. At the tower, they find Sepoy Gurmukh Singh. The room smells of smoke and death. The walls are blackened, but near the window, the air still carries the faint shimmer of melted glass from the heliograph. His rifle rests beside him, barrel warped from heat. The signal mirror lies at his feet, reflecting the weak morning light. Pinned to his chest by the melted buckle of his belt, a scrap of metal glints the heliograph's brass plate. On it, barely visible through soot, are engraved the words, "Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh." Houghton stands motionless for a long time. Then he speaks, his voice breaking. "Let no man touch them until they are all found. They will be buried as soldiers together." Hours pass. The soldiers of the relief column work in silence, clearing debris, lifting each fallen Sikh with care. They lay them side by side in the courtyard. 21 men, aligned perfectly, boots to boots, faces toward the rising Sunday. No medals on their chests. They need none. A padre from the British ranks reads a short prayer. Then the Sikh soldiers step forward and recite the Ardas, the prayer for the fallen. Their voices rise in unison, strong, trembling, echoing through the ruined walls. "De Shiva, Bar Mohi Ihai, Shub Karman, Te Kabu Na Taron." Grant me this boon, O Lord. May I never refrain from righteous action. When the prayer ends, the silence feels sacred. That evening, as the bodies are covered with earth and stone, a single heliograph signal flashes from the ruins of Saragarhi toward Fort Lockhart. It reads simply, "Duty done, position reclaimed, 21 fallen." Days later, reports of the stand reach the British headquarters in India, then to London, then to Queen Victoria herself. When she reads the telegram, she sets it down and says quietly to her staff, "It is no exaggeration to record that the armies which possess the valiant Sikhs cannot face defeat in war. The Empire listens." The names of the 21 of Saragarhi are entered into every regimental record. Each man is posthumously awarded the Indian Order of Merit, the highest honor given to Indian soldiers, 1 medal for each warrior, 1 for each heartbeat that held the line. Back in the Punjab, mothers, wives, and brothers gather in temples and gurdwaras to light candles for the fallen. Their pictures, drawn from memory, since no artist had time to paint them, are placed before the Guru Granth Sahib. Songs are sung, Drums beat slowly, and across the hills of the northwest frontier, the legend spreads. Men tell their sons of the day when 21 Sikhs stood against 10,000, when faith was stronger than fire, when Saragarhi burned but did not break. Years later, long after the war, the site of Saragarhi is rebuilt. A small memorial stands where the heliograph tower once rose. It bears 21 names, carved deep into the stone, names that time itself could not erase. And every year, on the 12th of September, soldiers of the Sikh regiment gather there, their rifles lowered, their heads bowed, their voices joined in one cry, Bole So Nihal, Sat Shri Akal. The years rolled on. The guns that thundered in the Tira hills fell silent, replaced by the hum of steam trains and the endless rhythm of colonial India. But in the villages of Punjab, in dusty courtyards and gurdwaras, where the air smelled of ghee lamps and old wood, one story was never forgotten. It was told again and again, the story of the 21. Children grew up listening to their fathers speak of Saragarhi. They would hear of Havildar Ishar Singh, who stood like a wall of iron, of Gurmukh, the boy who sent his last message to the heavens, of the brothers who refused to retreat even when fire consumed the sky. And every time the story was told, the elders would end the same way. They did not die. They became immortal. In Amritsar, a new memorial was commissioned by the British Indian Army. A stone obelisk, tall and solemn, engraved with 21 names, each one crowned with the emblem of the Indian Order of Merit. At its unveiling, British officers stood beside Sikh veterans. The Union Jack fluttered beside the Nishan Sahib, the Sikh flag of saffron color. Colonel Houghton, now an older man, walking with a cane, gave a short speech. I saw them fall. I saw courage I had never known before. The world may forget our victories, but it will never forget their stand. The crowd answered with a murmur of prayers and tears. Somewhere in the back, a boy whispered to his mother, I will be like them one day. There, that boy would later fight in the trenches of France in 1914. His name, unknown to history, was only one of many who carried the flame forward. 1914. The Great War. Europe burned. The call to arms echoed across the world. And once again the Sikhs marched, turbans high, rifles gleaming under foreign skies. From Ypres to Gallipoli, from the deserts of Sinai to the muddy fields of Flanders, they fought under the memory of Saragarhi. British generals wrote in their diaries, the Sikhs never surrender. They remember something we can't understand. In the trenches, at night, the older soldiers would tell the younger ones, remember Saragarhi, 21 against 10,000. So what are a few Germans compared to that? And when the war ended, when medals were handed and names were etched into new memorials, the shadow of that little fort still followed them. A whisper of honor carried on the wind. 1,921,939, the changing world. The empire began to tremble. The air in India thickened with change, the sound of protests, the rise of independence, the speeches of Gandhi, Nehru, and Singh. But even in those days of uncertainty, Saragarhi was never seen as a tale of empire. It was a tale of faith, of Dharm Yud, the righteous war. It belonged to no crown, only to courage. Schools began to include the story in their lessons. Young cadets at the Khalsa College drilled while reciting the battle's final prayer. De Shiva Bar Mohi Ihai. Painters recreated the scene. The burning walls, the lone heliograph signal in bold strokes of red and gold. Poets turned it into song. And in the quiet nights of Punjab, grandmothers still told it to children before sleep. 1939, 1945. The Second World War. The world was at war again. This time, the battlefield stretched from North Africa to Burma. The Sikh regiment, now expanded into multiple battalions, carried the spirit of Saragarhi into every campaign. In Tobruk, a British officer reportedly shouted to his men as they were surrounded, "Hold like the Sikhs of Saragarhi." And they did. For 2 days, they held. The comparison itself was an honor. Meanwhile, in the villages of Punjab, mothers packed their sons' turbans, folded their letters into the khaki uniforms, and whispered as they left, "Waheguru protect you," as he did them. 1947. Independence. When India finally won its freedom, the land was split in two. The partition tore through Punjab like a storm, dividing fields, families, and regiments. But amid that pain, both India and Pakistan agreed on one thing. The story of Saragarhi would never be erased. At the border, when Sikh refugees crossed into the new India, many carried with them a small framed image of the 21. They hung it in their new homes, in Delhi, Amritsar, and Ludhiana. To them, Saragarhi was not just a story of war, it was a symbol of identity, legacy. By the end of the first half of the 20th century, Saragarhi had transcended history. It had become a living legend, not written in ink, but in the blood and memory of generations. Soldiers still whispered the names before going into battle. Temples still rang with their prayer. Children still looked up to the statues and dreamed of standing unshaken just once, like those 21. And somewhere in the silent mountains of the northwest frontier, where the fort once burned against the dawn, the wind still carried an echo, faint but eternal. Bole so nihal, Sat Sri Akal. Dawn breaks on the 12th of September, 1897 inches Saragarhi, and more than a century later, its legend continues to burn bright. The British Empire may have vanished, the maps of India redrawn, but across the subcontinent, the story of 21 men who stood against 10,000 remains eternal. In the dusty archives of Delhi, historians unearthed journals, heliograph records, and telegrams that recounted the stand in painstaking detail, revealing the unwavering courage of Havildar Ishar Singh and his men. The Indian Army, now independent and proud, reformed the 4th Battalion of the Sikh Regiment, carrying the same motto, the same code, and the same fire into every battle. In 1948, during the First Kashmir War, soldiers marched through frozen passes, rifles heavy in the frost, whispering the words that had echoed through the mountains a century before. Bole so nihal, sat shri akal. When they fired upon the enemy, their aim was steady, their hearts fearless, guided by the spirits of the 21. During the Indo-Pakistani War of 1965, the Sikh regiment once again faced overwhelming odds in the deserts of Rajasthan. Cut off and surrounded, they held their ground, recalling the lessons of Saragarhi. Major Amarjit Singh radioed headquarters calmly. "We are holding the position. The spirit of Ishar Singh still leads us." By dawn, the regiment had repelled 3 assaults, and the survivors spoke reverently of the 21 who had inspired them to fight with courage beyond fear. In 1971, during the Bangladesh Liberation War, Sikh soldiers advanced on the Eastern Front, carrying amulets engraved with the names of the martyrs, invoking their guardianship before battle. One captain wrote in his journal that the spirit of Ishar Singh burned like a torch inside him, and he feared not death, only forgetting. Through the turbulence of the 1,980 seconds, during internal unrest in Punjab, Saragarhi remained untouchable, a symbol beyond politics, beyond division, a testament to honor itself. In classrooms across the state, boys would stand, recite the battle cry, and feel the mountains themselves tremble with the courage of the 21. By the 1,990 seconds, the world began to rediscover Saragarhi. British historians published accounts, and the UK Parliament recognized the stand as one of history's greatest last stands, alongside Thermopylae and Rorke's Drift. On the 100th anniversary in 1997, a memorial in Wolverhampton honored the 21 Sikhs, with descendants, Indian officers, and British veterans standing side by side, united in remembrance. As the last post sounded, a Sikh elder proclaimed that this was not merely a story of war, but a story of light that refused to die. In the Kargil War of 1999, high in the Himalayas, Indian soldiers faced impossible odds. Yet a Sikh unit held its ground for days under relentless fire, invoking the name Saragarhi as code and spirit, drawing courage from the stand made more than a century earlier. By the year 2000, the Saragarhi post lay silent, its stones worn and grass grown over. Yet every September 12th, soldiers, scholars, and civilians gathered there, lighting lamps, singing prayers, and feeling the weight of history in the rising Sunday. The legend was alive, whispering through the wind, and for a fleeting moment, the world paused, remembering the sacrifice, the courage, and the indomitable spirit of 21 men who had defied fate and time. Somewhere in the golden dawn, the wind seemed to answer, "Bole so niho, sat shri akal." In the early 2000s, as the Indian Army modernized its equipment and tactics, commanders in remote regions wore small badges engraved with the word Saragarhi as a constant reminder of courage, duty, and honor. Young recruits were taught about their heroes while training in the high mountains, braving storms, frost, and thin air, building discipline, endurance, and unwavering determination under the endless sky. Schools and universities introduced students to the events of the 12th of September, 1897, while theater groups reenacted the battle, vividly portraying the last stand, the heroic defense, and the ultimate sacrifices, leaving audiences awestruck as smoke, fire, flying bayonets, and determined faces filled their imagination. Historians compared Saragarhi to other famous battles worldwide, yet no comparison could capture the unwavering courage of 21 men fighting without hope, whose names, when spoken, instantly conjured visions of flames, smoke, and the steadfastness of men standing against impossible odds. International attention also grew over the years. Journalists and documentarians traveled from London, New York, and beyond to Punjab, walking the terrain, interviewing descendants and military historians, and showcasing the monuments where ceremonies continued to be held. Lectures, exhibitions, and storytelling events recounted the battle, making it a global lesson in duty, courage, and loyalty. The Sikh community used the story to instill values of bravery, sacrifice, and honor in young generations. And the tale of Saragarhi inspired writers, artists, musicians, and filmmakers to turn the epic stand into novels, songs, paintings, and films, spreading the message far beyond the mountains where it had taken place. Chapter 10 moves into the present. In the year 2025, more than 128 years after the heroic stand, soldiers, historians, and civilians alike remember Saragarhi. Modern Indian Army soldiers serving in multinational missions carry small medals or uniform patches inscribed with the word Saragarhi. In military simulations and war games, the battle is taught as a timeless example of steadfastness, tactical skill, and moral courage. Young recruits, even in digital training environments, learn from the discipline and determination displayed by the 21 defenders, understanding that heroism is not measured in numbers, but in the willingness to do what is right, regardless of the odds. Every year on the 12th of September, Saragarhi Day, troops, communities, and officials gather to honor the legacy. As children carry flags, sing songs, and hear stories of Ishar Singh, Gurmukh Singh, and their comrades, whose actions continue to resonate far beyond their own lives. The memory endures in international archives, museums, and digital platforms, ensuring that the lessons of courage, loyalty, and self-sacrifice are never forgotten. Saragarhi is more than a place or a date. It is a symbol, an inspiration, and an eternal testament to how even the smallest number of determined individuals can shape history. The spirit of the 21 Sikhs echoes through the centuries, reminding all generations that courage, honor, and dedication are timeless, and that every age needs its heroes to show that even in the face of overwhelming adversity, humanity can uphold pride, duty, and an unyielding moral path.